Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So we're still in the chapter of breastfeeding, and that is a chapter that comes after the chapter of marriage. And the next hadith in this chapter is narrated by Uqba ibn al-Harith radiallahu anhu. I'll read it in Arabic first. أنه تزوج يحيى بنت أبي إيهاب. He married a woman, her name is Yahya, the daughter of Abi Ihab. فجاءت امرأة فقالت قد أرضعتكما. A woman came to them, an older woman, and she said to him, I breastfed you and your wife when you were younger. فسأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال كيف وقد قيل ففارقها عقبة فنكحت زوجا غيره أخرجه البخاري. So what happened is, when she told him that I have breastfed both of you, and of course she must have told him the details, because not every breastfeeding would make this woman prohibited for him. It has to be, as we mentioned before, 5 feeds, according to the opinion of most scholars. Some of them say at least 3, and it has to be within the time of being, when he was a baby, usually less than 2 years or before he starts relying on food. The baby relies on food. During that time, that is the breastfeeding that is considered effective in causing this girl to be his sister through breastfeeding, and this woman to be his mother through breastfeeding. So basically she told him, I am your mother from breastfeeding, and she's also now your sister from breastfeeding. What does this mean? It means that she's basically telling him that your marriage cannot be valid from her. So he went to Prophet ﷺ and he asked him. Prophet ﷺ said to him, كيف وقد قيل? He says, what can you do when she's told you these facts? It's a big decision now he has to make, because now that he knows that she cannot be his wife, they will have to separate, they will have to divorce. So he says, how can you feel comfortable now that you've known this new information? So Uqba, he divorced her, and she married another man.
What would be the kids, if they had kids in such a situation?
It's the same situation with any divorce. The kids would normally go to the mother if they were younger, and if they were older, they would be given a choice. If they have passed puberty, they would be given a choice. But here it shows that they might have been married for a few years, you never know. But this shows you that if somebody marries and has a sexual relationship with a woman, thinking that his marriage is valid, and it is not valid in reality, then he is not liable for that. He is not responsible. He is not considered as adultery, because to him it was a valid marriage. He had nothing showing to doubt his marriage. But now it turned out that all these years, or all these months or years, it was invalid, it was haram. But for him it is not haram, because he did not know. Okay, this is based on also the hadith, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي الْخَطَأ وَالنِّسْيَانُ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ, which means my ummah, which means my followers, are not to be taken responsible. Allah will not take them responsible if they do things by mistake, khata, nisyan, or out of forgetfulness. For instance, you could be in Ramadan and you forgot and you started drinking and eating. Your siyam is still valid. Your fasting is valid. It is not broken by that. And here at khata, it was a mistake. He didn't know that she was his sister. وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ, which means if somebody is forced to do something, somebody holds a gun to your head and says, oh, you have to eat this pork, and you ate. Is it haram for you? No, it's not haram. Okay? But if somebody held a gun to your head and told you, oh, you have to shoot this man, is it allowed or not allowed in Islam? It's not allowed. Why is that? Because your life is not any better than his life. You can't save your life to take his life to save your own life. Then when it reaches that limit, no. It cannot be allowed. But if somebody holds a gun to somebody's head and says, I want you to utter the kufr, utter rejection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or say that I'm no longer a Muslim, or say something bad about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or about Allah himself. Now, could this be allowed in Islam?
Yes.
It is allowed.
Depending on the level
It is,
of your faith.
that's good answer. The thing is, you have two choices. If you have very strong faith and you can endure the consequences and be a martyr, that's even better. But if somebody takes there's a concession here that Allah allows. إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. If you are forced to utter kufr, but your iman is strong in your heart, but you're only giving them the words, you're allowed. It's not haram. It's not even makruh. It is not haram. It's not even detestable. Okay? It is permissible. But if somebody chooses to persevere and be patient and to be brave and to bear the consequence or die for the sake of Allah, it's even better. It's even better. But we cannot say if somebody commits kufr under these circumstances that he's a weak Muslim or Sahaba. Once some of the Sahaba did that. Is it Ammar ibn Yasir? Ammar ibn Yasir. Yes. No, exactly. he did that. They forced him to say they tortured him. They said we'll kill you, and then he uttered the kufr, or he said something bad about the Prophet ﷺ. So he went crying after that to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, no, you have not done anything wrong. He says, if they go back to you and torture you again and force you again, go ahead and say it again. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Because, but this is because this is the right of Allah, and Allah is all forgiving. But you cannot say, oh, he forced me to kill this man. You can't do that, because this is the right of another human being. And this human being is not forgiving to you that you kill him just to save your own life. You follow? Okay. فَفَارَقَهَا عُقْبَةً. Here he says فَفَارَقَهَا, which means he left her. Scholars understood from this that he didn't even have to utter talaq. He did not have to divorce her verbally. Okay? Because the actual marriage contract was what from the beginning?
It was not valid.
Invalid. It was an invalid marriage of contract from the beginning. Does not need to be cancelled. Does not need to be cancelled. Now, here also it shows that, because some people say, oh, Islam doesn't give women their rights, doesn't accept the testimony of women. No, Islam accepts the testimony of women where women have more expertise, in a field where women have more expertise. But when it comes to, for instance, the monetary dealing and financial transactions, in the end of Surah Al-Baqarah, نعم واستشهدوا شهيدين من رجالكم فإن لم يكونا رجلين فرجل وامرأتان. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you bring two witnesses, men. But if you cannot find men witnesses, then you bring a man and two women. So he made the testimony of the women in this field have the testimony of the man, or the man's testimony equal to the testimony of two women. But that is in this field. Here, who knows more about breastfeeding? You can't bring the man and say, oh, did she breastfeed? No, because she knows more. Here, one woman was enough and sufficient. You don't need two men to come and testify to this, correct? And even see scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa, for instance, here maybe he didn't know about this hadith, because in his madhab he says لا يقبل في الرضاع شهادة النساء منفردة. He doesn't accept the testimony of women, and that's his opinion. But the hadith is very clear that the testimony of women is acceptable, and even one woman is sufficient. Even one woman is sufficient, because and that is why when you hear an opinion from a madhab, tell this person, where is the evidence? Bring me the evidence behind it, because clearly this opinion is not correct. It's clear it's not correct. It does not belittle the imam in any way. Okay. And that's why even Imam Malik, for instance, says, oh, we need two women to testify in a matter like this. Imam al-Shafi'i said we need 4 women, but that's their own opinion. وذهب الإمام أحمد وجماعة من السلف إلى قبول شهادة المرأة الواحدة إذا كانت ثقة. And many other scholars considered that one woman testimony in this matter is sufficient, and it is sufficient based on the hadith. If Allah questions a person or the scholar in this matter, he says, I based it on the hadith of your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was sufficient. قال ابن القيم إذا شهدت المرأة بأنها قد أرضعته وزوجتها فقد لزمته الحجة من الله تعالى في اجتنابها. Ibn Qayyim says, if one woman comes to a person, just like the hadith said, and says to him that you and your wife, I breastfed both of you, according, of course, to the conditions of breastfeeding that would make her unlawful, he says, then the case has been made against him in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he has to take an action that this marriage is no longer to be continued. Now, وواجب عليه مفارقته. And Prophet ﷺ in another narration says, دعها عنك. He says, you have to leave her. You have to leave her. And obviously, in this narration, كيف وقد قيل, obviously the man was asking, so what do I do? She's my wife, and so on. He says, كيف وقد قيل, what are you going to do? Or how can you live when it's already been stated that she's your sister? Okay, inshallah, we'll stop here. Any question about this matter?
Yes.
Yes.
If they have kids, what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, just like any divorce.
Without kids.
No, I know it's, and this shows you the iman of these people. This is not an easy decision. We're just reading the thing, but if somebody is put in this situation, he will start crying. and then it will be a test for his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there are many situations, people who have made divorce 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, and you find them still finding ways around to continue the marital life, and they know inside that their marriage is not valid, right? So may Allah save us. It's a very big test for them and for the children, for everybody. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like in any divorce can happen for other reasons, right? He might not divorce her. If somebody chooses, I'm not going to divorce her, but then maybe another problem will happen between them and they will divorce for some other reason. Then why don't we then ask what's going to happen with the kids? Let's say they got into a fight and they got divorced for some simple matter. Why don't we then ask what's going to happen to the kids? The kids are going to be taken care of course, like in any divorce in the world. The percentage of divorce in this country, what is the percentage? It's very high. And still the kids get raised by the parents, this man, by the woman and by the man, and there's agreements and there are laws to govern all this. So the kids are taken care of under any circumstance. They're not the victim here. No. Yes?
If this is so powerful for breastfeeding,
Yeah.
what about surrogate mother?
What's a
Surrogate mother?
What's a surrogate mother?
Just carry baby for somebody.
Yeah.
What I mean?
This was
Surrogates now.
Surrogate mom.
Surrogates.
yes.
That is a new concept now. That someone can
Carry
carry
baby for some.
Yeah. Whether this is allowed actually in Islam or not, we'll have to research it. It was not what they call, it's called a nazila. It's a new development that was never present in the past. Okay, is it even allowed in Islam to do something like this? I personally doubt it, but I cannot say this. I cannot give you a verdict on this matter until I research it. Okay, but any Muslim should avoid something like this for now until he knows exactly what is the ruling. This is a matter that not anybody can give a ruling on. It has to be a committee of major scholars to get together and to go through all the evidences and the texts that they know in the Quran and Sunnah and see what is because this can lead to ikhtilat al-ansab, which means that the lineages can get mixed. Okay, and that is a big problem in Islam for the lineages to get mixed. And
I think it was made already from the
no?
Egypt. I think it was made already.
What did they say?
That it is forbidden.
Forbidden, huh? You read this fatwa from
From
the
a long time, I have to but
Yeah.
I don't guess. From-
Okay, can we look it up? We'll look it up, inshallah. We'll try to bring you the answer in Isha. Inshallah.